there is a discussion surrounding the Epstein Files vote, and President Trump weighed in last night and said, hey, let's go ahead and everybody vote and release all of these files. I believe that vote is coming on Tuesday, and they tried to submarine Trump with selective leaking of emails last week because they didn't want the attention to be on the fact that the government shutdown had collapsed. And now, Buck, I think Trump has gotten ahead entirely on this story. And as a result, I don't think there's going to be much there, for lack of a better way of describing it, because President Trump is now saying release all the files. And there's going to be a huge vote to release all the files. And I think the ones that are most damning for Trump have already been leaked. Do you have a different take on this? I think it's going to go a long way towards really kind of tamping down the discussion surrounding everything having to do with the Epstein files.
No, I like that he's going to give this no more, at least no more partisan oxygen, in the sense that, all right, fine, just release the stuff, guys. Let's see what you got. You know, the smoking gun that is in there that somehow nobody else has been able to find or get out into the public before about Trump. Please, that's the part of it. You can just apply logic and common sense to these things, and I think generally come to what is overwhelmingly going to be 99% of the time the correct conclusion, which is if they had something about Donald Trump where he was the bad guy in something Epstein related, he wouldn't be in the middle of his second term and thinking about, you know, his legacy on the world stage in foreign policy. Like, it never would have gotten here, is the point. So if they could have gotten away with, to be clear, manufacturing a story about Trump with Epstein that would have stuck, would have to stick, right? They would have done that too. If they could have Russia collusioned him, they would have done that, but they can't. So this is why, again, this is a frustration. And I think that's why it's a frustration in terms of the time. And here he is. This is cut two. Trump just says it. Look, the Democrats are doing this because it's the shiny object to distract the news cycle from the disastrous and idiotic shutdown they did. Like cut two.
Fake news like you're a terrible reporter. And fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration. So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party.
I think that's 100% right, and we'll see. On Tuesday, I think the odds of there being anything major that comes out when these are eventually voted on and released is very low. And building on what you said, Buck, if they were going to charge Trump with over 50 felonies in New York, in D.C., in South Florida, and in Atlanta, if they had anything they could have charged him with related to Jeffrey Epstein, don't you think they would have, instead of paying off a porn star and the way that it was accounted for in the books during the election campaign? Don't you think they maybe would have just said, hey, this Epstein thing's got a little more juice than many of the things that he was charged with? Again, I think you just have to use common sense here to recognize what's going on. Our friend Miranda Devine, by the way, is on right now, the lead story on Fox, as we began our show with 2 hours ago. Fox is now leading with the New York Post revelations relating to this would-be assassin in Pennsylvania. And so I do think that this story is going to have a lot of legs. If you haven't heard yet, there are reports from the New York Post, also Tucker Carlson and others now, that they have been able to find the social media post surrounding this assassin, that alleged would-be assassin. He did kill an innocent dad, Corey Campatore, can't forget, in Butler, Pennsylvania, as well as clip the president's ear and seriously injure others. That he was motivated, not surprisingly, by left-wing anti-Trump political perspectives, that he, under his own name, called for political violence, that he appears to have been pursuing or at least intrigued by trans-related identity aspects, And that if you go and look at his postings, he moved from a young man who was supportive of Trump to post-COVID deciding that Trump was a unique threat to American life and that using violence to stop him was potentially justified. Unfortunately, there are a lot of young men and young women who have followed this path, particularly young men.
So there was this period of time when the left was trying to make a mathematical concept popularized of stochastic terrorism, right? Stochastic terrorism. And so what they were saying is if you put enough of this out there, even if you're not really crossing the line, you know that with the millions and millions of people out there, someone is going to cross the line, and therefore it's your fault for what you have said or what your beliefs are. This is what the left was trying very hard to push this for a while, Clay. I just think it's interesting that has disappeared in the era of the Trantifa terrorist, when it's not this is where it's a big difference. This isn't a fringe concept. This isn't among Democrats. This isn't something that you will only hear among the most hard left. They will say things about erasing trans people. They will say things about Trump is a fascist and a Nazi from the very top of the Democrat system and from the Democrat Party. You name it, right? The No Kings protest. All this stuff is about hysteria and hyperbole. The whole purpose of this is to emotionally manipulate people and make them crazy. And then they have some crazies who actually do things like try assassinations that would plunge this country into the abyss. And they take no responsibility whatsoever for the insane things that they have been saying everywhere, from everyone, all the time on the left, all the time among Democrats. Home burglaries and invasions are the last thing you think are going to happen to your family. And sadly, this kind of crime happens far too often. You need to be prepared for it, no matter what neighborhood, no matter what part of the country you live in, because a home invasion can happen anywhere, and they happen far too frequently. So how is your family protected? Well, a really good place to start is with Sabre. Sabre's self-protection tools are the best non-lethal options in the marketplace right now. Sabre Radio is the website to go to, sabreradio.com, sabreradio.com. It's spelled S-A-B-R-E. Sabre has safeguarded hundreds of thousands of people with their self-protection tools. Sabre's pepper sprays, pepper gels, and projectile devices are all proudly made here in the USA. They've been at this, Sabre, for 50 years. And you want to be ready to defend yourself. I've got these in my home. Clay has them in his home. Act now to protect yourself and save 15% on Sabre's mega bundle with extra projectiles, magazine, and practice targets. Go to sabreradio.com. That's S-A-B-R-E radio.com, or call 844-824-SAFE, 844-824-SAFE.